Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at my Funko Pop Vinyl Retro Style G1 Megatron. So sit back and relax and let's see what this figure's all about. Hey guys, I'm here from Transformers and Video Games and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Funko Pop Vinyl G1 Megatron figure. I just picked this up for $14.99 here in Canada, which works out to $11.99 in the United States. If you like Pop Vinyl Transformers figures, check out my review of the retro-style Optimus Prime that I did last week. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and be sure to leave me a comment. I really enjoy interacting with my viewers. Now on with the review. Okay, so let's start off by taking a look at the packaging. Megatron is number 24 of the Pop Vinyl Retro line, as you can see from the banner along the top of the box. The figure comes in this very nice window packaging for collectors who like to keep their figure sealed or display the mint in package. And in the bottom left corner, we have a picture of the mighty Megatron's face. On the back of the box, we see the grid pattern that was made popular by the 80s Transformers packaging. And along the top, we see some very nice artwork of G1 Megatron fighting another character which is partially concealed by the number 24. For a little bit of fun, pause the video right here and let's test your Transformers knowledge. If you know who Megatron is fighting in this picture, let me know in the comments section. I'll provide you with the answer at the end of the video. On the back of the packaging, we also got a look at some of the other Transformers-related pop vinyls that are out in stores right now. This includes Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Jazz, and Soundwave, along with a few store exclusives that aren't shown here, including Starscream, Jetfire, a battle-damaged Soundwave, and Nemesis Prime. Well, enough about the packaging. It's time to crack the box open and take a closer look at the figure. Megatron comes in this plastic collector-friendly clamshell to keep the figure safe, secure, and well displayed inside the box. And as you can see, the top and bottom of the clamshell fold down to release the figure so that we can take a closer look at it in hand. My first impressions right out of the package are that Megatron looks fantastic. It's got a really decent weight to it, and they've given the figure a beautiful silver paint job that really pops, especially compared to some of the official retail Transformers Megatrons that we've seen in recent years. The head is oversized like all other Pop Vinyl figures, and they've given Megatron these very expressive black eyebrows. And although the original figure had yellow eyes, this one has large red eyes, which is very consistent with his appearance in the original G1 animation series. Megatron has an elevated Decepticon faction symbol in the center of his chest, some black and white horizontal stripes between his chest and his neck, and of course these very cool painted details in his abdominal region that break up the predominantly silver color of the figure quite nicely. His hands and fusion cannon are painted black, along with his outer legs and hip sections. And the inside of his legs are painted red, which is a nice surprise, but it's also very consistent with the original G1 Megatron figure from the 80s. Now let's take a quick look at the backside of the figure. As expected, it's very clean looking, since this is of course a simplified representation of the vintage figure. Now, having said that, they've actually included a molded barrel section of a gun positioned vertically on the right side of his back to mimic the alt mode of the original figure, which was of course a Walther P-38. I know when I reviewed Optimus Prime, I said that Pop Vinyls have no articulation, but after the review I found out quite accidentally that they actually do have some head articulation, as you can see here. Now, I'm assuming that it does a full 360-degree rotation, since I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't, but I don't want to risk popping the head right off if it wasn't intended to do that. And of course, the figure obviously doesn't transform. For anyone who's interested, here's a look at the Pop Vinyl Megatron next to my vintage Generation 1 version of the figure. I've always been a huge fan of G1 Megatron, but I'll be the first to admit that his robot mode hasn't aged well, but I still think it represents some amazing engineering, considering the figure was produced nearly 40 years ago. Now, having said that, despite the issues with his robot mode, he's still got one of the best and most iconic alt modes in vintage Transformers history. Now, just for laughs, here's Pop Vinyl Megatron next to my 80s Gumball dispenser version of G1 Megatron. That's right, folks, the leader of the Decepticons was also marketed as a gumball machine back in the 80s. As goofy as this looks, I was quite happy to have been able to add it to my collection a number of years ago. There's actually a vintage AM radio microphone version of G1 Megatron that would also be cool to pick up and add to the collection if I can find one for the right price at some point in the future. And last but not least, here's Pop Vinyl Megatron next to Pop Vinyl Optimus Prime. Both are part of the new Retro series, and they actually look really good together. Megatron seems to have a better center of gravity due to his wider A stance, which is actually a minor issue that I have with the Optimus Prime figure that I neglected to mention in my previous review. If I had to recommend just one of these two figures, I'd actually go with Optimus Prime. I just feel like the number of tampografts, along with the overall attention to detail, make it more G1 accurate than Megatron, but the Megatron is still a very good figure and very much worth getting. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up right here. Generally speaking, I'm not a pop vinyl collector, but I'm really glad that I found and pulled the trigger on Megatron. The colors and paint applications are really nice, and the design of the figure captures the likeness of the original Megatron from the television series in a really cool way. I think I'm going to keep an eye out for the other retro Transformers-related pop vinyl figures from the series, but I refuse to pay silly reseller prices for the various exclusives that have been released, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens with those particular figures. Before we wrap this one up, for anyone who took a guess at who G1 Menosaur was fighting in that picture from earlier in the video, the answer is G1 Superion, who's of course the Autobot Aerialbots Combiner team. Let me know in the comments section if you got it right. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Take care.